My name is Andrea Bernat, and I am the website administrator for Attitudinal Healing International. Trish Ellis, who is our international communications coordinator, is usually the one who helps out with these webinars, but she is currently overseas in China conducting attitudinal healing trainings. So I am filling in for her today. And it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to session 3 of our 2018 webinar series, which we call Attitudinal Healing Around the World. And our presenters today are Aeeshah and Kokomon Clottey. They are the co-founders of Attitudinal Healing Connection in Oakland, California. And I am just so happy to tell you a little bit about them. We'll start with Aeeshah. Good morning, Aeeshah. Well, it's morning here, but hello. Aeeshah is internationally recognized for her work in healing racism. And in 1993, she received the Jampolsky Award for Excellence for her racial healing project. She has more than 30 years experience practicing and teaching attitudinal healing, and we are just so lucky that she is with us today. Thank you for being here. And Kokomon, who is sitting right next to her, was born in Ghana, West Africa, and he is an interpreter of his culture's wisdom and rituals. He's also a very gifted musician, which I can attest to personally. He has over 30 years of performing experience, and he has a master degree in
Thank you
business.
for having me.
So thank you, Kokomon, for being here today. You're welcome. So Kokomon currently serves as the Director of Operations for Attitudinal Healing Connection, Oakland, and Aeeshah serves as the Director of Special Projects. And together, they are international motivational speakers, and they have co-authored 2 books. The first book is titled Beyond Fear, 12 Spiritual Keys to Racial Healing. And their most recent book title is Eternal Quest for Happiness, A Practical Guide to Fulfilling Dreams. And you can actually see the cover of that book right on the screen in front of you. It's very beautiful artwork. And today's webinar, which is titled similarly, is based on this new book that they have written that is just such a beautiful and moving tribute to something I think we all want, which is to feel happiness, even though we all have to find our own kind of journey to get there. So thank you, Aeeshah and Kokomon, for being with us today. I do just want to let people know that they are going to open with music. I think Kokomon's going to do some drumming for us, which is very exciting. And then they have a presentation prepared, and at the closing of the presentation, they will be available for a very generous question and answer session. So if you have anything that you would like to ask Aeeshah and Kokomon, please kind of take notes and write down your questions as they proceed with their presentation. You are free to write that down, pad and paper in front of you, or if it's easier, please at any time type your question in the chat window, which is present in this Adobe Connect room. And then what I will do is keep an eye on that and save those questions. And when they are complete with their presentation and we transition to Q&A, I will share those questions with them and they will answer them. And if at any point you have any other questions, do please type those in the chat box as well. That way Aeeshah and Kokomon can stay in the flow as they're presenting. So, Aeeshah, Kokomon, if I left anything out, please feel free to fill in, but I absolutely turn things over to you. Thank you.
Oshishibrishia Udomo shoya Oshishibrishia Udomo shoya Udomo shoya Mawulu Odomo shohim mawulu. Odomo shohim mawulu. Odomo shohim mawulu. Ochichi brishia he. Odomo shohim he. Ochichi brishia he. Odomo shohim he. Odomo shohim mawulu. Odomo shohim mawulu. Odomo shohim mawulu. Odomo shohim mawulu. Ujonko holo. Odomo shohim mawulu. Ujonko holo. Odomo shohim mawulu.
Thank you, Kokomon. This is so exciting. We are here to talk about and to be happy. Our eternal quest, and you think about quests, most of us are like a cat chasing its tail, trying to really look for what we already have. And so what we're talking about, this webinar is about happiness. We're going to be talking about our stories, about happiness. Some of them, we realize that happiness is two sides of the same coin. And most of you are attitudinal healing students, so you know that attitudinal healing is the process of learning to really be who we really are. So we're going to be offering a deeper understanding of the challenges to happiness. We'll be talking about guidance to happiness and key principles to happiness, which are the principles of attitudinal healing. The essence of our being is love. We'll be talking about that. Kokomon is going to go into that in depth, and we're going to be sharing our stories. And our whole focus is to really be with you in a way that we are happy. That's why we started off with music, because music is one of the tools to happiness. And dance is one of the tools to happiness. Movement and dance are tools to happiness. And most of us, as I said earlier, are like cats chasing its tail. Marianne Williamson wrote the book, Our Eternal Quest for Happiness, and she was sharing with us that, why would you want me to write this? The forward. And we really felt that she knew us and she could talk about this. And she said whenever she saw us, we always was happy. And I think it's really important for people to know that life is just choices. Either we're going to be happy or we're going to be sad. And as you know, we're living in a time in history which is really clear that to choose, it's the power to choose. So that's what we're going to talk about today, the importance of choosing. So the next thing, we're going to go to the next slide. And so you see the first slide, Eternal Quest for Happiness. We're going to go to the next slide. We're going to go right into the principles of attitudinal healing. And I'm going to turn this over to Kokomon.
Yes, thank you, Aeeshah. There are 12 attitudinal healing principles. However, we're going to just focus on the very first one, which says that the essence of our being is love. Because we truly believe that happiness is a byproduct of love. And attitudinal healing affirms that we are responsible for our thoughts and whatever feelings we experience. So having said that, as Aeeshah said earlier, we have to really make the choice which department we're going to be. So there are two farms, a farm of fear and a farm of love and happiness.
Which one will you choose?
Which one would you like? Which farm would you like to cultivate? That which means, where would you put your attention? Would you put your attention on fear and misery, or you put your attention on love and happiness and wonderful relationships? So about 26 years ago, Dr. Jampolsky invited us to attend International Attitudinal Healing Conference. And at the time, we were not married. We were friends and we were dating. So at this conference on the Saturday now was the banquet at the conference in Indianapolis. And Aisha's friend, Paula Hinson from Florida, came to our table and jokingly said, I think Aeeshah and Kokomon, you should get married tonight at this conference. So immediately I said, I don't think so, because, we were not prepared that we just coming to a Attitudinal conference.
And this story is shared in our book on Kokomon.
Yes, we shared this story in our book because our editor insisted that we should include this story. And the reason why we are sharing this story is that because of this invitation for us to get married. Now, one of the tenets of attitudinal healing says that now is the only time there is. So, Aeeshah was invited by Diane to go out and really think about this. Is this what Aeeshah wants to do? And once all that was clear, that Aeeshah said, well, let's move forward and do this. Jerry went to the MC of the program and asked that the program be changed to include Aeeshah and Kokomon's wedding. And so he did. The MC changed the program and made an announcement that there is going to be a change in the program and it's going to include a wedding. Let's share with you that there were 400 strangers. We don't know, from all over the world, from Russia, from Mexico, and and the whole room exploded with joy and happiness. And so our love essence, we share our love essence, and believe this or not, the whole thing, the program was changed. And one thing that struck me was anything and everything we need for a wedding was made possible, manifested. It's like all of this was planned, including there was a film crew from Japan. They came to record the conference. They recorded the entire wedding.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have believed we did that.
Yes, because when we returned from the wedding, from the conference, we put the tape on to play it. Then we couldn't believe what has just happened. We had a minister to officiate. The same table we were sitting on, we had somebody who actually is a minister, and she officiated the wedding. And there was a lawyer sitting on a table. He was my best man. You just will not believe it.
And he said that if you want to get out of it, he's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer. It has been 26 years for me to try to change my mind. I don't want to be in the marriage anymore. And I'm sharing this with you that is the power of love. The essence of our being is love, was really, really activated and actualized on that day, in that evening. And love and happiness are truly infectious, because 400 people from all over the world, they just came to this conference and had to be part of this wedding. So here we were, in front of 400 people, saying our vows to each other that me, Kokomon, going to marry Aeeshah, for better or for worse, and we're going to be together no matter what. And it's been 26 years. So I'm sharing this story to say that love is more powerful than fear. Love is truly, truly incredible. And that
and most times we forget that it's two sides of the same coin. That on one side, and we have to choose to be happy. We have to choose. And that's the power of these principles. Health is inner peace. Healing is letting go of fear. We have to choose peace. We have to choose fear. Giving and receiving are the same. We can let go of the past of the future. Now is the only time there is, and each instant is forgiving. We can learn to love ourselves and others by forgiving rather than judging. It's all choice.
I want to change his life. So we continue with the tenets of attitudinal healing. You can see on the screen, we can choose and direct ourselves to be peaceful inside, regardless of what is happening outside. Now, we are students and teachers to each other. Now, the culture that I grew up on, this principle is very, very difficult because the culture dictates that the elders always have the answers. But sometimes children can be, children can, teach us lessons, one or two here, especially in the age of the internet and social media. This is the world and platform of young people. So we have to uh, understand and respect that young people have something to teach us. We can focus on the whole of life rather than the fragments. This is truly, truly important because when we're focusing on fragments, sometimes that's where we see a lot of fear, a lot of doubts. It takes us to yesterday and things that we didn't do well, or tomorrow's what we want, our expectations for tomorrow. So sometimes it can be very, very difficult. Since love is eternal, change not be viewed as fearful. This, now preaching to the choir right now in the world, there is a lot of fear, there's a lot of change. But if we focus on love, it's definitely known that the love of God, the love of Spirit is eternal, then that will take us out of our fear.
And I think many times we forget that fear have always been a part of the human condition. Love has always been a part of the human condition. It's which one do you want? It's like we're ordinary people, but we choose to be happy. It's all about the choice that we make.
Now, the next one we have here is we can always perceive ourselves and others as extending love or giving a call for help. And this is another wonderful principle that somehow is related to the concept of we are students and teachers to each other. That every time we are in communication, there is either expression of love or there's a call for help. And we have to really be careful which, where or what kind or what is going on in the communication so that we can respond accordingly.
And we really have to know that do we deserve to be happy? We human beings, we deserve to be happy. And you can see that if you look at those pictures of the children on the screen, you can see that they know how to be happy because they're playing, they're doing things. And these children, they design this artwork because they are really committed to their own happiness. How committed are we to our happiness? Mm-hmm. I think that's a question we have to ask ourselves.
So what we have here, this is the beginning of just a selection of some of the principles of happiness that we have in our book. That at the end of each chapter, we have 3 or 4 different concepts or suggestions for people to think about. So this particular one, I will remind myself the wisdom that love is our essence as humans. And that happiness is rooted in love and is our common destiny. I will practice the law of giving and receiving by extending goodness, compassion, peace, and love to everyone that I meet, including all 2- and 4-legged cousins. Where we live in Oakland, our next door neighbor bought a rabbit for his little son. And in less than 2 weeks, every time I'm leaving the house, the rabbit is standing in front of our building. And I remember I read somewhere that rabbits like carrot. So I run back to the house and pick up a carrot and brought it to the rabbit. The next day I came out, the rabbit was waiting for me. So this continued for almost a whole week. Every morning, the name of the rabbit is Mars, Mars the rabbit. So every day I bring Mars, carrot, until I run out of carrots. So I had Fuji apples, so I cut pieces of these apples and brought to Mars the rabbit. Now by this time, Mars do not want me to throw the food on the floor. The rabbit want to eat from my hand, from my. So I have the pieces of the Fuji apple in my arm, and he was eating and enjoying it. And somehow we created this bonding between me and the rabbit that it was so deep that one time we had some electrical work to be done, and the electricians have to go on the cross space under our building to do the work. The rabbit, in his wisdom, believed or think that somebody should be watching over these electricians. So the rabbit went under the building to keep his eye on the workmen. And one of them came out running to come and tell me that my rabbit is under the building and is going to run away. So I better do something about it. I said, oh, don't worry, that's part of his territory. But I wasn't thinking that the rabbit was there actually to keep his eye on these people. But he stayed over there, sat over there, watched them do their work, and when they finished everything, which took maybe about 2.5 hours, then Master Rabbit came to the front of the building. And then when the electricians came out, they both in unison screamed, "Here is the rabbit, here!" And so I went to the house and brought Mars, carrots. So that was when I realized that Mars actually was policing or keeping its eye on these people. And it is truly, truly incredible. All the, across from, there's a school across from our house. And when the children are going to school or leaving school, they see the rabbit, they get so excited. They want to catch him and they will run under the building. So I'm saying this that the Mass brought me so much joy. There's so many incidences that happened between me and this rabbit that it will fill a whole book. But I just want to share with you that sometimes we don't realize that actually our pets or animals can also contribute to our own happiness.
And I think a lot of people really, really understand that. And again, I want to really talk about the fact that there was once a man that people can teach you. And there was a man who was at the BART station in Oakland. When I would be going to work every day, and he would always be at the BART station. It appeared to me that he was there begging. I hated beggars. So I would be looking at him, and he would be looking at me, and I would be like, "Don't ask me for a dime." And that's to show you that we human beings, many times we have judgments about people that may or may not be true. But I think we have judgments. And so as I looked at this man, and every day he would be at the bar, and every day I would be totally, totally upset to see him at the bar. But this man, I was making myself upset. He wasn't doing anything because he would be happy, he would be begging, and I would be upset with him because he's begging. And every day I would feel that way. And then one day I was going to the bar, leaving work, got to the BART station. It cost 60 cents for me to get on the BART. I only had 50 cents. So as I was looking around and looking for someone to ask for a dime so I could get on the BART to go home, everybody was looking at me like, "Don't ask me for a dime." And as I was looking at this man, the only person that was looking at me smiling was this man whom I had shunned every day. And I felt so bad because I knew that I had been shunning him. But today I needed him. So as I looked at him, I smiled and I said, "Hi." And he looked at me and he was like, "Hi, how are you doing?" And so I said, "Well, can you loan me a dime?" He said, "I'll give you a quarter." So these are the things that we have to realize, is that many times the people that we may really not want to connect with are the people that are helpful to us. So as I looked at this man and I was working with this man and he gave me the quarter, and then afterward I was like, oh my God, all this time I'm really judging this man. And here he is, he's helping me today. And so as I was getting my bar ticket, and I got to get ready to get on the bar station, I went back to him and I said, "What's your name?" He gave me his name. And I said, "Where do you live?" And he said, "Well, I'm here at the bar station." I said, "Well, I work in mental health, and I work at a halfway house if you need a place to stay." He said, "I didn't ask you all that." And so as I was really realizing, I got on the BART train, I was thinking, all of this time I've been looking at this man thinking he was a beggar. But today I realized that this man was at the BART giving and receiving love. It was my judgment that was really clear. And so as we look at these kinds of things, we can see that there's always a choice between love and fear, between our own judgments and happiness. And I really think that it's important for us to see how we take our time to utilize the fears and not see the choices that we have. The next slide is, I would factor in uncertainty as an essential ingredient of my experience, and I would accept whatever challenges come my way, knowing that answers, solutions, and new doors will emerge out of the chaos. So we can see that nature has a level of chaos. And this is really, really important for us to really begin to touch bases with the principles of attitudinal healing, the principles of happiness, and to know that everything is working together. Everything works together for good.
So you want to share with our audience about the fire in Oakland Hills?
Oh my goodness, that's how we got together. The fire in the Oakland Hills, that was really, really, really serious. And I had called Kokomon and I said, "Why don't you come down for lunch?" And he was reluctant, but he agreed. And just as he came down for lunch. And as to show you how nature works, you never know what's going to happen. So what happened was, he was he was we were preparing lunch, and Kokomon was spending time looking at what was happening. We heard a lot of commotion. And so we went outside and we discovered it was a huge fire. We cut the television on. It was a huge fire right in the area where Kokomon lived. And he wasn't able to go home for 2 weeks. And during those 2 weeks, our relationship tightened. He never went home again. So it's been 26 years that we've been together. So you can see how nature, the chaos of nature, created an opportunity. So everything works together for good.
Yes, thank you, Aeeshah.
So happiness is two sides of the same coin. So we can see that as we are focusing on happiness, and we have to really know that in nature is a great way to really begin to commune with nature. And we need to make time to sit in silence and commune. And as we sit and watch the sun setting, and we sit and we can be grateful as we listen to the sounds of the waterfalls, the rivers, and the oceans, and be a student to nature. This is very powerful.
Yes. Let me remind our new friends that these are some ideas and concepts we came up with that at the end of each chapter of our book, we listed these suggestions for people to things that people can incorporate into their daily life. And so sitting in silence without any prayer um, is a very, very good thing to commune with nature. One even doesn't have to go out into nature, but right, perhaps if you have a garden at your home or just right there being in your home, or maybe if where you live you have access to seeing the sunset, to say goodbye to the sun. Uh, in my country, Ghana, uh, especially in the villages, early morning before sunrise, the little birds come out to welcome the sun. And they will be singing, and each minute and each hour, the bigger birds join in to welcome the sun, to welcome the sun. And it is truly, truly incredible experience to see this. And then around 4 o'clock, between 4 and 4:30, they come back again. This time the singing is different, to say goodbye, to express gratitude to the sun, and say goodbye to the sun, and wish the sun well, that the next day they're going to come and welcome the sun again. And I share this story because uh, a lot of time, especially in the 21st century, we don't think that birds actually can teach us something. They can connect us with our own inner peace, our own happiness, connect us with nature, connected to the sun. So hopefully people can tune into this story, to this idea, to pay attention to nature, to pay attention to um, the sun and the ocean and things like that. There is one Japanese doctor, Emoto is his name, wrote a book about water, the hidden messages of water. That every time the water we drink, make sure that it's not hot, but the water we drink, we can speak, make a wish on the water before we drink it, for inner peace, for love, for happiness, or say gratitude to the water. This is quite incredible. This is truly, truly incredible, because this is part of the wisdom of my people from Ghana, that water actually can be sacred, can be really, really important in our life.
I would choose to focus on making inner peace my only goal and releasing any worries and fear. Can you imagine to take the time to commune with nature, to know that it's your choice to focus on making inner peace your only goal? And to know that, as Kokomon and I have realized, is that it's all about what we choose. It's nothing else. And then to remember the wisdom of Hafiz, the earth would die if the sun stopped kissing her. That is so powerful and so important for us to realize the power of love and the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. That's from the back by Gita. So these are the things that we think is so important. And to remember that in our search for happiness, why are we looking for happiness? Why are we looking for happiness?
We're looking for happiness for a lot of reasons. One is the fact that happiness is who we are. As I said earlier, happiness is the byproduct of love. And love, the essence of who we are, the very first principle of attitudinal healing states that the essence of our being is love. And this is why happiness then becomes a quest, that anytime at all we are not in our love essence, that means we are out of our love and happiness. And so another way that there was a Nigerian musician, he just passed away. Olatunji was his name. And he said it best that anytime at all we get out of rhythm, we get into trouble. So another way to translate that, anytime at all we get out of our love essence, we have to look for happiness. So this is the reason why. And there are a lot of reasons why we get out of love. And of course, preaching to the choir. About 40 years ago, one will have to read the newspaper or listen to the radio or maybe turn on the TV. But now the news follow you. Everywhere you go, the news appear on your cell phone. Something is happening in Bangladesh or some earthquake in Mexico. And so that is one reason why we get out of reading. We get
so
off.
you really begin to see that now is the only time there is, and each instant is forgiven. Every moment we have a choice to choose peace. Every moment some tragic thing is happening, and we can choose to be in that tragic moment, or we can choose peace. These are the things that is so important. Happiness is a gift that we have to really begin to open up to. Early one morning in the summer of 1980, Dr. Jampolsky called me, and he was like, Aeeshah, Helen Schuckman is coming. Helen was a scribe of A Course in Miracles. And at the time, I had been a student for about 5 years. And he said, Helen is coming. And I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you come and stay with Helen. And I said, I don't think so, Jerry. I don't think I'm the one. Even though I was a student of A Course in Miracles, I was also at the same time deeply rooted in the Nation of Islam. So I was kind of fluctuating between both worlds. And I was like, I don't think I'm the one, Jerry. And he was like, yeah, I really think you're the one. You should come and spend some time with Helen and stay with her while she's here. And at the time I was thinking, and so you can see how acceptance, choice, all of that mattered. And I was like, oh, no, I don't think so. And he was like, yes, I think so. And so I said, let me really pray about it. And as I prayed about it, it became very clear to me that I was to spend time with Helen Schuckman. And I chose to do that. That was a choice I made. So you see that choice is so very important. And Kokomon, I see you have your drums here. It might be a good idea if you play for us again. And as we think about these stories, the stories are really, really important. But I think being in the now and being with music is even more important.
Kolo, kolo koto, kolo, kolo koto, kolo, kolo koto, kolo, kolo koto, no fione, obanyamo. Kolo, kolo koto, kolo, kolo koto, kolo, kolo koto, kolo, kolo koto, no fione, obanyamo. Obanyamo, no fione, obanyamo. Yeah, no bakoni wofie. Awenye makule, mo bakoni wofie. Yeah. mo bako ni wofie. Awenye Lydia mo bako ni wofie. 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 Mo bako ni wofie.
And so I'm going to finish sharing the story about Jerry and Jerry and Helen Schuckman. And also we come into a close because it's about 10:46. We still have some more time. We can talk more about these stories. I think it's really important because in the book I talk a lot about Helen. And I think Helen was really the scribe of A Course in Miracles. But she was, most people know that she really didn't want to talk about A Course in Miracles. And now that we see, and if you're a student of A Course in Miracles, you can see why Helen shied away from that. It's a wonderful set of books. And I ended up staying with Helen. And even though I was staying with her, Helen was not the friendliest person at the time. And I really spent a lot of time trying to understand how this woman, who was the scribe of such a wonderful document, didn't want to have anything to do with it. And one of the things that I think she best described her own process in A Course in Miracles, she said it made her very uncomfortable. But it never seriously occurred for her to stop writing. She was an excellent writer. She had agreed and made a commitment to do that. And so she continued to do it. And she talked about how she could never account for nor reconcile her own inconsistent attitude. And that's how she was with everyone. It was very, very interesting. And I talk more about that experience in our book. And a person can read it.
Thank you, Aeeshah. So what other story you want to share with our friends?
Oh, we have so many stories. And another really important story that I like to share is like when I was in the 4th grade, when I was kicked out of the choir. I talk about that. And that's really, really important because it shows when I was out in nature, the trees, they were so accepting of my singing. I had no idea I couldn't sing because the trees was always loving my singing. They would just, and I would sing and sing and sing. It wasn't until I went to join the chorus when I was 10 years old that the choir director was like, oh God, she can't sing, and kicked me out of the choir. And I was like so, so sad. And I was sitting on the porch and my father came home from work and he was like, why are you looking so sad? I said, I was kicked out of the choir today. And he was like, so? And I said, but when I was singing in the woods to the trees, they love it. He said, well, the trees never complain. So why don't you sing to the trees? So I went back and I started singing to the trees. And he was right. The trees never complained. And I was happy again. So I think it's really, really important. And we talked about anger in our book and how many times how anger will come and visit you and how it's a choice to accept anger or to accept peace. And I think those are the things that's really, really important. That happiness is a choice that we must make.
Yes. Now, we also talk about different types of meditation. For example, yoga, it could be a part for someone, or in my case, I use mindfulness, mindful drumming uh, as a part to getting away from fear and back into love. Tai Chi is a very, very good idea. Um, Over here in California, in the Bay Area, there is a Buddhist monk. His name is Thich Nhat Hanh. He talks about mindful walking, that people can go for a walk or just everyday walk. If we bring our consciousness to our footsteps, it can become meditation. It can bring us back to fear into our love essence. So these are all suggestions that we talk about in our book, and we hope that today's webinar that we all learned something from it. So uh, we are going to open up for questions and answers.
Yes, absolutely.
And hopefully, Andrea can facilitate this piece.
Actually, alrighty, so I'll leave my webcam off just so we can focus on Aeeshah and Kokomon, but I would invite our participants, if you have a question, please do feel free to type it in the chat box. But because we don't have dozens and dozens of people in the room, if you're interested in just speaking to Aeeshah and Kokomon using your microphone, we can do that too. In fact, I would, since I don't see anyone typing right now, if anyone does have a question they'd like to ask, I would just invite you to unmute yourself and let us know your name and then what your question is.
Oh. Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, I didn't know my mic was working. Hi, this is Donna from Chicago. Hi, thank you guys so much for offering.
Hi, how are you doing? Who are we speaking to?
Webinar. I greatly appreciate it. And I'm so sorry. I'm actually at work.
Hi,
right
Donna.
now, so I might have missed something. I wanted to know, like, how long have you guys been practicing attitudinal healing? And I also want to know where I can get your book on racial healing.
Okay, we have a website called at www.sankofapublishing.com. Also, you can go on our center's website, www.ahc-oakland.org, and you can get the book.
The racial healing book is called Beyond Fear. It's also on Amazon. So that's another source. Now, how long will be practicing attitudinal healing? Aeeshah, this was her part, and she invited me in 1989 to join her. But Aeeshah, could you speak to that question? How long you've been practicing attitudinal?
Oh, for about 40 years now. That's why the eternal quest for happiness, how we're always looking for happiness. So once you start really looking for happiness, it's a journey. So about 40 years I've been practicing attitudinal healing because every day we have challenges. I think right now I was looking at Stephen Colbert last night, and he was talking about his challenges. And so every day we're called to give an account and to look at our issues. And so, Donna, 40 years.
40 years. Now, Dana, thank you for that question. After all these years, we realize that no matter what we are doing in life, our attitude actually play a major role. No matter what, whether we're going to school or we are in a new relationship, or in this case, we're talking about happiness. We can exercise, we can pray, We can read all kinds of books. We can eat right. But if we have negative attitude, we still not going to be happy. We still will find faults about people. And so the concept of attitude is truly paramount in our life. A lot of research have been done about optimistic people, meaning people with positive attitude. They are in good health, they experience good health, they are more happy, they are more prosperous in life. So all this is about, it comes from, is rooted in happiness. Optimistic people are also more hopeful people. That means all that again, they have hopeful attitude. They don't come from the place that the world is coming to an end. At least their world will be ending tomorrow. So when we realize this wisdom, we stay on that course. And the work that we do here in Oakland, California, attitudinal healing tenets and principles are foundational to anything and everything we do. Working in schools, working with leadership programs, and everything we do. We hope that you look at these ideas we're talking about, because they are life
Andrea, is there anybody
transforming.
behind me asking a
So
question?
thank you, Donna.
I don't want to take too much time.
In fact, you said you're at work.
Andrea?
Oh no, please, by
She's
all
at
means. I
work.
don't have any
She said
questions
you're at
in the
work.
chat. It's possible someone might offer up one via microphone, but if you have anything else you'd like to comment on, please feel free.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I've taken the course several times with Trish, and I'm so happy to finally see Andrea because I know her voice very well. um, um, but the the difficulty that I face is that well, I'm a healthcare provider, so I understand very well how attitudes actually help patients heal. Physically, through certain disease processes, and how you think of it can actually help to heal your body within itself, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
How if you think a lot of negativity, it can actually continue to keep you sick with stress levels and things like that. So I understand it conceptually in terms of in a healthcare setting, but as I try to make the transition into everyday life, it's like a hurdle. I feel like I'm running track and I'm trying to jump a hurdle to get to the other side, to be able to apply it completely. And
I was just sharing with someone because they was thinking of starting a nonprofit, and I said the reason why our nonprofit it has the longevity that it does is because our work is not about what you're talking about. It's about working on yourself, and that's what you're talking about. That's the hurdle. That's the eternal quest. And the more you can work on yourself, the more, because you'll find that what we found is that the most important thing is to look at our own judgments, our own fears, our own issues. And that's the work. That's the hurdle that you're talking about. Because it's easy when you're just talking about those people out there.
That's the challenge.
But when you look at your own internal process, that's the hurdle.
As many classes and as many times as I have to repeat it with Trish, I'm thinking until it just kind of finally sticks to my brain. And I mean, okay, thank you.
And that's what we want people to understand. It's a quest.
So would I be able to reach
it's
you guys
an eternal
at the
quest. It's a commitment to continue to work on yourself. And that's an important commitment.
Okay.
Yes, we are at the Attitudinal Healing Connection. You can send an email to Attitudinal Healing Connection and info at ahc-oakland.org. And Kokomon will pick it up.
Yeah. You're welcome.
And if you go on our website, you'll see all the things that we've been doing. Most of the work in schools.
So
And
you want to give the website again?
Okay.
it's www.ahc-oakland.org.
And thank you for your honesty, because when I met Aeeshah 1978, the one thing that she said that struck me and stood me was, the greatest work is working on ourselves, because we have to be honest, like Andrea, what you just said. At work, you find it easier using the principles, but then applying it to your personal life is like, oh wow. That's where the challenge is. Yes.
And then somebody is driving a car and is yelling. I mean, I find it. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my God, she said the C word, the children.
yeah. Are your loved one? Are your children?
The children. Yes. And at least what we found after all these years is that the greatest work is working with our family. When we were writing our book, we found out there was a research that was done. They selected about maybe 500 people and followed these people for 50 years, mostly couples. And they found out that the most happiest people were in this group, where they were married and they were able to stay with each other and deal with each other fears and all this stuff, and they still stay together. So the research suggested or concluded they are not just happy people, but they are also in good health. But the whole point is that it comes with a lot of work. Our family are the ones that we have a lot of work. For example, on Thanksgiving Day is when Americans get into a lot of fights, and the fight is usually with family members. You can't throw them away. You cannot kill them. And at least you see them once a year, and then they reawaken a lot of stuff that happened to you 10, 20 years ago. But if one able to practice the principles, we can become love finders rather than fault finders, for example.
And so the happiness work is so important, because happiness has a deep connection to understanding, key moral precepts, to meditation, to wisdom. The more we can really look at happiness, the more we can understand. It's not so much as just be happy. It's a choice for happiness. And so that's why I keep bringing it back to choosing. We're choosing happiness.
So, Andrea, Donna, now you got an email address, info@ahc-oakland.org.
Yeah.
You have more questions in the future. You can email it to us, and we'll be happy to.
Francis typed in chat.
Oh, fantastic!
Somehow I learned that I
Fantastic.
should not be happy.
So it's wonderful to you
suffering
join
in the
us. So,
world.
Andrea, do we have
How do you
other
reconcile
questions?
being happy in the face of others' suffering? Is happiness a selfish act?
There's always suffering in the world, and there's always happiness in the world. Which one do you choose? It's always about choice. What do you choose? Do you choose happiness, or do you choose fear? And happiness is not so much as laughing. It's happiness is a deep sense of peace
Inner peace.
and inner peace, and knowing that no matter what's going on, that you can choose to be peaceful inside, no matter what's going on.
Now, here is a thought, and the thought is that if we are going to focus on the pain and the suffering, then we are not really going to help ourselves and help the people who are suffering. So, for example, Marianne Williamson talks about a quote in Course in Miracles, which states that we should recognize the suffering, but we shouldn't dwell on it. And why is that? Otherwise, the suffering will take us, we will be drawn in the suffering. And because hope is bigger than fear, if we are in a happy state, we can actually do more good, helping people who are suffering, especially if we come in direct contact with these people who are in pain.
And you know, of course, the miracles also say that charity is seeing someone or a situation as if it's already transformed,
already completed.
So many times when we're looking at someone and they're in a pitiful condition, if we see that pitiful condition, we don't see that we're also expanding that pitiful condition. But if we can see that person as moving out of that pitiful condition, and we're willing to support that person and see that, then we'll also begin to really move through that. So I really understand what you're saying.
Yes.
But also we have to really know that true charity is seeing a person, a situation, an event as if it's already transformed.
And my people have a proverb that Adomo Lowi mi Afamo Lowi. What that translates is that we cannot solve this suffering on the planet by being in the suffering. We have to be out of that. And being out of that means we have to be in that space of hope and peace and happiness to be able to help people who are suffering.
And it doesn't mean that it's just like right now, everybody's upset about having Donald Trump as president.
No, it's not everybody. Some people.
Some people, okay. And I think it's really important to really understand that this man served us and is serving the situation and it giving us an opportunity to talk about things that we would never ever talk about. Because did we really think we could clean the swamp? I don't think so.
So, as Aeeshah said earlier, before we were all born, there was suffering. And as a matter of fact, there is the story of Buddha. Buddha was a prince, and one day he was going for a walk with his guide, and he saw a casket of people. They were going to the cemetery. So Buddha asked his guide, "What is going on? What is all these people crying, and what are they carrying?" And the guide shared with him that this person is dead and they are taking him to go and bury him. And Buddha asked, "Oh, am I also going to die?" And the guide said, "Nobody is going to escape death. Everybody is going to die." So Buddha, at the palace, 2 o'clock in the morning, he got up and ran away from his wife and children to go and find himself, to go and find the answer to this question, that what is he going to do so that someday he doesn't die, or at least he can transcend death. So this was the story of suffering, and this was more than 2,000 years ago story of Buddha, who was a prince, realized that how could he transcend death, transcend this suffering. And the only way he discovered was to be awakened. And he found that by sitting under the Bodhi tree, and that's how he was awakened. He became Buddha. So this is a very, very important question. And again, if we recognize this suffering and we want to do something about this suffering, the only way we can do something about it is to come from a place of hope, come from a place of happiness, come from a place of inner peace. That's a very good question. Thank you.
And also, it really brings you back to our eternal quest. How we're always looking for happiness, and we're like a cat chasing its tail. We're looking for something that we already have. If we can realize that we already have peace, we already have happiness, then we can begin to share it, because we can't share what we don't really see that we have.
Exactly. And we want to lastly share a story with you. Here in Oakland, we asked permission from the city and Caltrans for the children to create, come up with vision, what kind of images they want to see in our community. And so we start painting murals. And Aeeshah, you want to go back to show them a couple of the superheroes the kids created. Okay, here. If you look at this slide, the very photograph on top or painting on the top, the very first painting, when we are working with the children to create this week, the very first week we start painting the mural under the 580 freeway. Some youth went to San Francisco and stole a gun and came to Oakland and shot one of the artists painting the mural under the freeway. So when you talk about suffering, here we are, we were doing the work of peace, we were doing work of happiness, but now we are visited with suffering. You know, I was ashamed for many, many days that here I am, you know, why this guy come and shoot me? Why shoot this 27-year-old man? So we were all in pain. We were all suffering because the very first time we met these young artists who have been killed was when we were painting the first mural. He came and volunteered his time. When we were doing the second mural, he came and volunteered his time. So the third time we were doing this, we actually hired him. 1 week into the project, he was dead. He was shot and killed.
And that's why we also look at attitudinal healing connections. It was the young man who did this shooting was suffering. And he even admitted that he didn't mean to kill the young man. And then I discovered that the young man's great auntie was in my class. So there was a connection there. So we started seeing, and also we were suffering. And the media, when we were doing the happy things,
they never come to cover it.
They never come to cover it.
We never see them.
But when we're visited by pain, the media is beating down our door.
Yes.
So you can see that this is something that we have to really begin to talk about. We have to talk about happiness. We have to talk about our fears. We have to talk about our suffering.
Not only that we lost one of our staff through this suffering, but 2 weeks after that, somebody came to our house and stole our car. Because every day we were in the news, they said, oh, Aeeshah and Kokomon are rich. They came to Oakland and actually stole our car. The police came and warned us if we see somebody driving a car, just to call them. So we have experienced personal suffering. You know, we're not going to, you know, take the whole time to share.
But it doesn't mean we stop really focusing on joy. We have to always focus on joy. And it doesn't mean you don't look at suffering. Suffering is always there, and there's always something we can do to help. So that's one of the things I think is really important, is that we have to always do something.
So another thing I want to share with you, my people, the Ghana people of Ghana, if a loved one passed away, everything have to stop for at least 12 months. So for example, when my father passed away, my mother was not supposed to cook. She was not supposed to do any work for 12 months to recognize and do the mourning of loss of her husband. So everything we are saying, we are not saying that we shouldn't recognize and see the suffering, that we want to make sure that number one, we don't want the suffering to take us
I see
away
that
with it.
Donna is
We
typing.
want
I'll let her
actually
finish
want to
that. And I
be
just
in
wanted to
that
read what
place of
Susan
inner peace to be able to
shared.
deal with
She
the
says,
suffering.
"Thank you, Aeeshah and
So
Kokomon.
thank you very much.
You
This is
have
a
made
very,
me
very
shift into
good question.
happiness is not just a feeling
So
emotion,
Andrea, any
but an
other question?
understanding that it is what I am," which is beautiful. And
Wonderful.
That
Yes.
that is so very important, Susan, to really know that you are happiness.
Yes.
And see, I think that's what we're always in our Constitution. We say
Pursuit.
we're be in pursuit of
Pursuit
happiness.
of happiness.
That means it's something out
thank you so
there.
much.
We have to
And I do
chase.
not
Church
have
searching
any
for,
other
not realizing
questions
it's not
lined up
anything we have to go
at the
searching
moment,
for.
although, oh,
We
Tasha's
are
saying
that
something.
which we are looking for.
Let's just see if Tasha has a question or is just contributing a comment. But Aeeshah and Kokomon, if you would like, if you want me to kind of go and pull up some other questions, I can do that. Or if you want to start wrapping things up, we can do that too. Okay. Sarah, let's see. So Donna followed up with a comment, everything we need is inside. And then Patty comments,
No, we have time for more
my mighty
questions.
companion. I'm not
What
entirely
is
positive what
Patty
she's
typing now?
referencing, but you might know that. So while John and Tasha are typing, I
Right.
actually have, Trish and I always keep a list of questions that people ask us through our connection with attitudinal
Yes.
healing. And so one I can offer up is,
Yes.
which I think really ties into the repeating theme of making happiness just a constant choice, is a lot of people also describe happiness as a habit. It's something you choose to do every day, and in the process of choosing it over and over, many people find it often gets easier. But that doesn't change the fact that in the process of sort of like clearing that path and making it easier and easier to walk down that path, one doesn't hit obstacles. And we've talked a lot today about the obstacles that kind of rear up in everyday life, you know, seeing people suffering, having unfortunate things happen. But what this person was asking me and Trish to talk to is, what do we do for the obstacles that are repetitive, like kind of the thoughts or patterns that kind of trip us up every time, like maybe even since childhood. So this person wasn't asking for like a one-fix-all solution, but they were specifically curious how attitudinal healing as part of that practice can help with those repetitious obstacles. And I just thought, based on everything you've shared today, it would be really cool to hear your perspective on that.
Okay, the second principle of attitudinal healing stipulates that health is inner peace and healing is letting go of fear. So there are two parts to this principle. Health is inner peace. So then one will have to define what that means to them. What is inner peace? In other words, in a general sense, we say inner peace will be a world where there's no conflict, but we all know that that's not true. No matter where you are on the planet, there will be some challenge. If it's not natural challenge like earthquake or rain, or it may be a family challenge, it may be emotional challenge. So that first principle states that if we find peace in the midst of the chaos, that is going to lead to the second part of the principle, which means healing is letting go of fear. So any challenges that come into our life, whatever that challenge is, as I share with somebody came to our house, we were prepared to leave the house with our car was gone. Oh my God, what do we do? Somebody came and shot one of our staff.
And I think many times what we don't realize is that when a situation or a thought comes, that we always embracing what is happening. And I think that's one of the problems, is that we want to push things away rather than bringing them in close and holding them close. We want to push people away that don't look like us. And I think that's what is like our president was saying. He wanted to take the word diversity out. And not realizing that diversity is part of nature. Everything is diverse. When you look at a tree, there's no leaf on a tree that's the same. So diversity is a part of who we are. And so these are the things that we have to really know, and is that if a thought keep coming, that thought, and it's an adverse thought, it's time to embrace it. And so that's really what the things that we think are different, it's time to embrace those things. And that's what I think is really important.
And I want to share with our new friends that what we are talking about is not easy. And we have been doing this for over 30 years. And still today, we see, but now after doing all these years, we come to accept what attitudinal healing states. Attitudinal healing have 3 legs. The very first leg states that we are responsible for our thoughts and the feelings that we experience. We cannot blame somebody else for our own feelings, because we allow those feelings. We have the choice. That again we'll be talking about it. Nobody is going to get into our mind. That's one thing. Before, my mother lived to be 100, and one thing I remember after she passed away is, we can travel all over the planet, but one place we cannot go is somebody's mind and change it.
That's our responsibility.
That is, and so we are responsible for our thoughts. So if somebody have some type of negative reaction or negative thoughts that's coming to visit, then the person have to truly sit and pray about this. In our book, we made a lot of suggestions, going for doing mindful walking, doing Tai Chi, sitting in silence. There's a group of people in the United States called Quakers. Their way of prayer is just to sit in silence. They believe that because we are God's children, God already knows our needs. We don't have to say anything, just sit and be silent. And the same thing was also amplified in the biblical book. Be still and know that I am. So,
and every year we do a retreat in June, and at this retreat we do it at the Quaker Center. And we use the Quaker Center because of their historical connection to human beings, and really being in silence and accepting everyone and accepting the diversity of the planet. So that's one of the really important things I think is really good, is for us to look at ways that we can be much more accepting and embrace our diversity. That means our diversity of thoughts. Sometimes we have thoughts that are bad thoughts. Embrace it, hold it,
We do have a question
love it.
from
but if it's recurring, then you have to look at the root cause of these negative thoughts that keep
so
coming.
first I just want to share.
Andrea, that's very good question. You have another one.
I can communicate that to him in just a little bit, but before I read
I
this
see
question,
Tasha
I wanted to share this
saying
message
something.
from John Overton. He
We're
says,
going to come
Aeeshah
see
and
you in
Kokomon,
Cameroon. We'll be
every
in
time
Ghana
I
in
see or
August.
talk with you, you deeply touch my heart. Thank you for sharing your love
He
with
doesn't
all
have
of
a
us.
microphone, so you have to type it.
And then Tasha also wants to thank Kokomon and Aeeshah for their eloquence and to apologize for being late. That's okay, Tasha. We're always here for you. But Tasha's question is, how do you deal with a bad situation that happened to a loved one? Oops. How do you deal with a bad situation that happened to a loved one who is not having your concept of happiness being an integral part of being?
I think that's really, really important, Tasha, because when you look at a loved one and that loved one is thinking differently, how can we embrace that loved one and knowing that it's not about changing them, it's about us accepting whatever it is that they offer us. That's what I think is important.
Yeah, Tasha, I think earlier we spoke about this, that the most greatest challenge in communication and relationship is family. There are many reasons, but the very first one is because they are our loved ones, we can't kill them. We cannot walk away from them. You see, sometimes the best thing we can do is just to pray for them and leave them alone, because we can't live their life for them. They have, no matter how much we love them, you see, including our own children. You know, Karim Gibran warned us that children come of us, but they are not of us. They come with their own destiny. They come with their own spirit. They come with their own reading. They come with their own lessons to learn. We can teach them. We can learn them. They can still not do what we tell them to do. Then what do? We have to just love them and pray for them, and that's all we can do. You see, so this is a very, very good question. One thing is that we want to share with them these concepts that we are talking about.
You share it by living it.
Yes, we share it by living it. Living is a good example, and they see that, oh, okay, this is what my uncle, my father, my friend is doing. Maybe I will try it. You see, and maybe they will not do it. You have to really accept them the way they are, who they are, and that is the challenge. To accept them, that they disrespect you, they will not talk to you, or they won't do these concepts we're talking about. These are concepts that will bring a lot of freedom and a lot of peace. I might add also abundance, a lot of money, a lot of cornucopia of food, a lot of stuff come my way, me Kokomon, come my way because I'm practicing these principles. So, inner peace is just one thing we're saying, that when we are at peace, when, everything is working, then all this other stuff we're talking about also come into play. So, Tasha, this is a very important question. Thank you very much.
My members here for us to rush over there and participate. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Or we will come to Cameroon. We've never been to Cameroon before. We'll be in Ghana from August to September.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So we
Thank
can
you
come
very
and
much.
visit
Then
you
we'll
too in
talk about
Cameroon.
that after.
It's not too far. Cameroon is not too far from Ghana.
Okay, thank you.
So Tasha, we can talk offline about that arrangement. No problem. So either we come to Cameroon or you come to Ghana, but we can see you this year. Yes. Yeah. Yes. After the webinar, You are our friend and brother.
Great.
So
That's a treat for
we
me.
are coming to
Yes.
Ghana.
Thank you.
As Aisha said, we already make plans. We'll be in Ghana the whole month of August and half of September. So at least we can come to Cameroon for at least a couple of days, weekend. So yeah, let's talk about that. Thank you very much.
Aisha, I'm so sorry
You're
to
welcome.
interrupt you, but just real quick before you begin to conclude, Sarah did ask a question.
So
Is that
as
okay?
we are looking at our
Thank you so
conclusion,
much.
and you look at happiness as love in
Sarah says,
action,
thank
we have
you,
so
Aisha and
much that we
Kokomon.
want to
You are as
really
wonderful as I
focus on
remember, and your
as we
words
look at our
are so
happiness.
inspiring and thought-provoking.
And most people right now,
We are wondering when you began using the word change rather than death in principle number
yeah,
11.
they're interchangeable. Death is change. And what we realized was that since love is eternal, there's no such thing as death. We just change our form. We change the way we do things. We change how we're being with people. So that's how we started to use the word change. Because we realized, and also many of the children that we work with, they prefer to use that word. So we followed their advice.
So as Aisha is saying, a lot of time we don't see death as the problem, but we see change. A lot of us humans, anytime there's change, there's a problem. It could be change when we move from one city to another city or from one house to another house. It could be a change in relationship. Maybe you got rid of your boyfriend, now you bring in a new boyfriend, or whatever that change is. But the concept here is that since love is forever, then no matter what the change is, whether it's death or a new relationship or whatever, we should not be in that space of fear.
Can you hear me?
And as we
Good.
said earlier in the
Yes, that
beginning
is
of the
helpful.
webinar, we have been
And
practicing this for over
we
30
discuss in our
years.
groups that
So Sarah, is that helpful?
all change is actually a death, a little death from what was to what is, and that's
Let
how
us know if that's helpful,
discuss
okay?
that idea about change and death being
Yes.
Yes.
interchangeable. I just I've always actually we've talked for years now about kind of wishing that it was said change rather than death. So that's why I was kind of interested to see that you had made that change officially for you, and I didn't. It really.
Mm-hmm. That's the beautiful thing about attitudinal healing. It's really is about making it
supportive of that.
something that you
Right from
resonate
the
with.
beginning to create what
So
we've
you have to
done
really
as
look at
a
what
community in
resonates
our
with you
groups.
and
So
then do
this
that.
is what we've done. I just
And
always kind of saw
that's part
the
of
wording
the
of the
process
principles
that we have to do as human
as
beings.
kind of sacred,
Look at
but
what
I
resonates with
but
us and
actually
then do
I've
it.
also noticed that the 12th one is changed on the website, that instead of perceiving ourselves and others, it takes out ourselves and just makes it others, which I actually like it better, as we could always perceive ourselves and others as either extending love or giving a call for help, because it definitely applies to myself. Yes, yes.
And see, That's another reason why you take what resonates with you. And that's really, really important, is to look at what is really resonating with you.
And I also want to remind you and our new friends is that the concept of death, if you have a boyfriend or even a marriage and you divorce your husband, that is death. Yeah, that means your relationship, your former relationship is no longer available to you. That means the same as my mother is no longer available to me. Why? Because she's dead, she's gone. So the concept that we are talking about, sometimes when we take it literally, then it become a problem. For example, one of the principles people always come with questions about giving and receiving are the same. That principle is not referring to money, that if I give you $10, you give me $25 back. No, it's talking about love. That because again, love is eternal, no matter how you do, you give love, there will be more love coming to you. So, for example, we asked Mother Teresa Center to quote one of her quotes, and the quote was service from Mother Teresa was service is love in action. Service, so far as Mother Teresa is concerned, is love in action. So the sun, before any of us were born, for millions of years have been shining its energy on the planet. And because we are 90 million away from the sun, by the time the energy of the sun gets to the planet, it turns into photosynthesis. That is the food for the plants that we eat. And all the food that we eat come from the sun. This is love in action. Love in action, that the sun is sharing his love, giving his love, without asking us any dime, any money in return. Can you just imagine that kind of love?
And Kokomon, you share a story in your book, in our book, Eternal Quest for Happiness, about a man who was he was this such a funny story. It's about a man who was
90-year-old man.
90-year-old man. He was really, he had to go to the hospital because he couldn't urinate anymore, and he ended up with a huge bill. And when he came out of the hospital, he said he was
when they brought the bill, he broke down crying.
when
they brought the bill, the old man he broke down crying. So the nurses and the doctor said, "Oh, don't cry. Maybe we can find a way to get insurance." He said, "No, I'm not crying because of the bill. I am crying because for 90 years, God never charged me a dime when I go to pee, when I go to urinate." So, going back to what we're talking about, the concept of death. Death means if you have a pet and the pet ran away and is no longer in your life, that's death. If you have a boyfriend and he run away with another one of your girlfriend to Hawaii, that's death. If you if you get fired from something you love to do, that's death. So we have to really open our consciousness to the deeper meaning of the concept death, and that is why we put change rather than death.
And see, most of us really, attitudinal healing is such a wonderful because it's short and sweet. And we like things that are short and sweet, but we forget that A Course in Miracles is the platform of which the attitudinal healing principles grew out of. But when you read A Course in Miracles, it's very dense, it's very thick, it's a lot, it's saying a lot. You can, how many ways can you say love? It says love more than 150,000 ways.
Alrighty.
So that's
that,
really what we have to realize is that the more that we can make things practical to us, and we can work on it and we can accept it and we can embrace it, that's what's important.
Invite Aeeshah and Kokomon to,
that's very important question.
Closing,
thank you very much.
Way is best for you, and if that involves
Andrea,
drumming, I won't complain, but it's your choice.
Andrea, we really enjoy spending this time with everyone. And we really want to say that we're ordinary people, that our primary focus is really accepting and who we are and being who we are. And that our eternal quest for happiness is a practical guide to fulfilling dreams. And so that's one of the things. And our dream is to really be happy and to be who we really are. And that this will open a path to inner peace. So that's what we want to really focus on. How can we be peaceful inside no matter what is happening outside?
Yeah, I want to also add to what Aeeshah is saying, that we are grateful to be with all of you today. And you can send us additional questions by emailing to info@ahc-oakland.org. And that we are truly, truly grateful. And what we want to also share with you is that we have been told that all these conversations have been recorded. So you can share with you can tell your friends to contact Andrea so that they can get a copy of today's presentation, so that we want more happiness on the planet. We want more peace on the planet and more healing on the planet. Thank you so much.
And remember that it's always good to look for happiness. Happiness is really who we really are. So Kokomon is going to end with some drumming. And we want to also really let you know that we'll be doing a book signing on April 21st. April 8th, we're going to be at our new location. We have a new location on 1960 Mandela Parkway. And we're going to be there celebrating the work that we do and doing the critical conversations that matter. So it's really important to know that the critical conversation that matters is really embracing who we really are.
For your presentation today. That was just absolutely beautiful, and thank you everyone for attending. And yes, there will be a recording made available.
Thank you.
It takes us
a
couple days
to
get the video edited and prepared, but when it is ready, we will absolutely send you a link, and you are welcome to share that with others if you feel that this would be interesting to them. We do have more webinars scheduled throughout the year, and you can read about those different topics and presenters on the AH International website. But really today was just fabulous, and even I, who've been around attitudinal healing for almost a decade, learned a lot and had a lot refreshed for me, and that's why we do it. You have to keep practicing over and over and over. So thank you everyone for your questions and your comments. It was a really beautiful gathering today, and on behalf of Trish, who again is in China, but I know for a fact that she is here in her heart and with love, and Jerry and Diane as well. They are both just so thrilled that Aeeshah and Kokomon were able to be a part of this webinar series that they have put together.
All right.
Thank you everyone, and I will let Aeeshah and Kokomon have the last word, but yeah, thank you again.
I just want everybody to remember that the essence of our being is love, and that health is inner peace. Healing is letting go of fear.
And I want to express my gratitude to all of you and remind you that to change the world, it doesn't take the whole world. It takes just one person to change the world. So
and that's to change your view of the world.
Change your view of the world. Yes, so
that's why one of the things that Marianne talked about, I think, is really in her new apartment. She get a bird's eye view of Trump Towers, and she